Hello, it's Tiffany Lorraine, the Resilient Mother, with another episode, a special episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. I have my special guest here today, James Hilliard, who is all about encouragement and certainly has done that for me. So I'm excited to bring his voice to you and to this audience to help you find your path in your career or your life in general. So, hi, James. Thank you so much for being here. Will you please tell our audience a little bit about you?
Firstly, thank you. You said some kind things there, and I can say they're true. Yes. I'd love to encourage as many of your viewers and anyone who sees this, you can do better. Yeah, you can be better. You can be anything you want. And you've got to be tied to what it is you want to do. And Tiffany's doing that. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And a brief bit about myself. I am the archetypal 25-year in the corporate world. I managed to climb to the top of the ladder before I stepped off to help people. And I just think about that as pay it back. How can I help people marry or match some of the things that I did? And I would love to be able to help anybody listening to this step into them true selves. You know, is that whether you're a business owner, whether you want to step up in your career, it really has to be something you prefer to do, something you love to do. So that's my encouragement to you today. So that's who I am. That's what I do. And I cannot wait to dive into this. So let's go. Yeah. What are we going to do?
Well, what I love about James, just to brag a little bit on you here, is we met through Brody Lee, and I met you during COVID, and it was all about impact. So the thing I loved about you that I saw you were doing was you were about impacting others' lives for good. And then I started to see some of our other friends that were mutual that you had helped step into their real callings. I believe one of them was another single mom, kind of like me, who stepped into her photography and more of that side of her life. And you help people really find that, like find their heart resiliently, as I would like to put it, and then find a path to step into it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And you're referencing Anya. So,
Yes,
shout out to Anya. Hey, Anya, wherever you are in the world. And yeah, I think we all go on our journey, right? So we don't realize that we are all progressing. We are all growing a little bit. What we'd love to be able to do, though, is connect to that part of us that is conscious and not unconscious. And so most of the people I speak with, like me, remember, kind of the best people you can help are the people who are just going through the same things that you've gone through. And Tiffany does that, which is helping, single parents, but also, mums who are trying to work and go about their endeavor and do that. So I think it's about that. The more conscious you become, the more aware you become about your environment, your energy, the clarity that you require, the intentions you set every single day. That's the thing that's going to take you to the next level. So most of the work I do is really, I wake people up. That's my job. I wake people up and I give them new perspectives and different ways of looking at things. And that just gives them then strategies, tactics, tools. And so they've got then a methodology, a framework, a structure, and a system of accountability, which is what most of us want. We just want a cheerleader. We just want someone to stand next to us and say, keep going. And I'm that crazy fanatic, I am that for you. I'm stood here, just want you to win in everything you do. And it's the same for my coaches, the people I hang out with. Next week, we will be in a room with our good friend, Brendan. And he's our fanatic, right? He's cheering us like crazy. And so we will be there to be cheered on. It's kind of an odd situation, right? We sit and watch our cheerleader cheering us on from the stage. And so everyone thinks he's performing, not really. He's there to lift us. And that's very much in the mode of how I want to be able to spend the rest of my days, just helping businesses, business owners, individuals be the best of themselves and figure out what's the philosophy and the thought pattern they're going to adopt consciously. That means they no longer are asleep. And it's okay to be unconscious too, as long as you're telling your unconscious what to do. And that's the conscious process. So yeah, I love it. Yeah. Great question. I like that.
I love that. I think mindset really is where everything starts. And that takes a deeper level of awareness to just go inside and like be able to see what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what needs to go, what needs to stay. And, my tendency is to do too many things, multi-talented, everything gets my attention. I get really excited. And I'm really learning from the strategies you've taught me and from our mentors, just how important clarity is. And I think you were touching on that it's important to really know where to focus your energy to get the best return. And what I've loved working with you too is all your experience you've put into frameworks. You've put them into these simple bite-sized pieces that anyone can process and can apply to. Like, you've turned around and sent me one like just before an interview and be like, oh wait, here's how you do that. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, that's what I love, is like, you're just a huge resource of information that I think a lot of people could benefit from.
Thank you. You're so kind. Yeah, as much as maybe nobody liked mathematics at school, some people did. There's some weirdos and some nerds on here going, yeah, I love math. There's something we do like. We do like numbers. We are into numbers. There's something we do like about shapes. And so most of my frameworks and accountability structures are triangles and matrices of just a square split into 4. So we can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 3 or 4 things to do. And you've kind of touched on it, that we do go to the buffet and we start at the beginning and we go along the buffet line. And when we get to the end, we look at the plate. And how you fill a buffet plate up is how you operate in life. It is just a microcosm of what you do. So if you are the person who gets to the end of the buffet line and there's nothing on your plate, you're pretty good at doing very little. But if you're the person who gets to the end of the line and the bread fell on the floor and you're trying to figure out where the salad's going to go now because you've got chicken and beef and potatoes and veggies, and the veggies look good, so we put them on. We load our plate up. And that's a really good microcosm of what goes on. And as we're walking away from the buffet, we can see the people who've already had their main. They're at the dessert table and we're already thinking, yeah, I don't want to miss out. Fear of missing out. I don't want to miss out. There's some apple cobbler, peach cobbler over there. I don't want to miss that. And that's one of the biggest issues, is that's all unconscious programming, unconscious behavior. We fear of missing out. We're scared. We want to stay safe. We want to belong. So we want to get over to the dessert table and make sure we don't miss out on that banana pudding. We really don't want to miss out on that. And the opposite is what we need. We need some structure. We need some accountability, and to take in only the things that we really enjoy. You know, sometimes we'll put things on our buffet plate we don't even like. I'll just try that. No, stick to what you know. Stick in your lane. I think you touched on it there. Be better at doing less. Yeah. Be
Absolutely.
better at doing less. Yeah.
Committing to what you can do with excellence and nothing else. Then you get the results that you want, and you get that dessert. Although I like dessert first sometimes, but you know. What does resilience mean to you while we're kind of on the subject? Because I feel like that's an important part of this whole process. Because for me, resilience means that I'm finding my true self and I'm living into it. And I also love that you're pointing out that you kind of might need someone to look at that plate for you and kind of help point out, this is for you, this is not for you, this is going to move you where you want to go, this isn't. And that's what coaching is all about. And that's why we love what we do. So can you kind of speak to those two things of someone going resiliently about it and realizing maybe you need help along the way?
And do I have a minute or two to speak on this one? Because this is for me. A big one for me. And hopefully tell a story. So I always like to tell this one first, is that somebody very close to me in my life once said this to me. Life is, he said S-H-I-T, S-H-1-T. This is a public show, and so apologies to those people who get offended easily. It's just words. These are just words. There are worse things than profanity going on in the world. Just look at the news. So I think life is that, but it's punctuated by all these moments of pure brilliance and joy. And I had some of that experience at the weekend, just to delve into new experiences. And so we have to say, I'm going to struggle. That is life. It is the struggle. The whole point of that is the challenge, that, you know, we grow up and we got to figure out who we are. And then when we start to figure out who we are, something terrible happens, and then we don't know who we are again. And then we got to go and refine that person. But we got to get out of our own way most of the time. And so you do need to know who you are so you can be who you are. And that invests some time. Only when you are being yourself can you improve, can you grow. And that does require this thing of resilience. So that story from somebody close to me to kind of give me that just wisdom of, it's going to be a trial. And so because of that, you better be good at resilience. And so for resilience, I can't pinpoint one thing. So I've kind of got a handful of things. I think for resilience, to really get a grip on this, is just to kind of, you could call it to bounce back, to return to form when you've been pushed out of shape and you've been sent off alignment, you know. And in my last role, before I left the corporate world, I was out of alignment. So I'm walking around off center Imagine what that's doing to my spine and just who I am. I was fat, overweight. I'm still carrying a lot of weight, but 30 to 50 pounds overweight of fat blubber, right? And that's going on. I felt worried about my heart health. I was worried about a serious disease. And I just thought, I can't carry on because I'm heading for an early grave doing this. So I had to employ resilience. And so what did that look like for me? So for me, and for anybody watching this who's going through a tough time, whether it's in your job, in your relationships, with your financial situation right now, whether it is with your career or your mission or your business, do this. First, go and get more data. Take the insights. Reflect on where you are, where you've come from, and take a look at what's all the data I have. And don't give it any meaning. Just look at it objectively and say, well, that's where I'm at. I'm at this point. I can't go back and change any of that. And look at the times in that data, your memories and your stories of the past, but pick out the pieces where you can count on you, where you bet on you and you won, and you were the person who could be counted on. They're the ones to be focusing on, because for resilience to work, or for resilience to be part of who you are as an individual, you have to count on you. But you also have to count on others. And counting on others in the service of others and helping others, I think that's the reason. Isn't it the reason? I mean, you're a single mother with these 3 wonderful kids. All you think about when you wake up is, I must not let those 3 kids down. And for anyone watching this, don't think that you've got to have some grand, massive idea and be wonderful. There's a big enough reason that you've got those people close to you who are dependent upon you. So count on them too. Make that your reason. And for me, it's, I'm married and I have a young son. That's got to be the reason. Why do I do all of this? Yeah, for them. To protect and provide. Yeah, as a male, one of the things we think about is protection and provision. It may not be true for all males. I know there's some ugly ones out there. But for most of us, that's what we're thinking about. And for women, most of it's around caring and giving in the service of others anyway. Most of the typical roles that you take on are about that, especially in motherhood. The kid needs, I like this phrase, every kid needs a really good mother. And so that's important. So we do have to have that reason. So that's the next thing. I do think resilience comes from initiative, taking the initiative. It doesn't come from sitting back and waiting for things to happen, hoping things will get better. Have faith that things will get better, but then take initiative and put some action plans together. Get together with someone like Tiffany who can help you with the action plan. That's going to be something awesome that you could do for yourself. Get creative. Have you seen any of Tiffany's videos? They're pretty creative. So you have to embrace creativity and think about what is it that you create in the world. And I think that's important. You've got to bring some joy to everything. You've got to bring some humor, some fun. If it's not fun, you're doing it wrong. If you're in a dark place right now, and I was 2 years ago, terribly dark place to the point of suicidal ideation and worse. And that, when you're going through that, you got to remember, I'm not having fun. Remember this, if you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong for you. Mm-hmm. And most of it's internal. It's not external. It's not things that are happening to you. It's all what's going on inside of you. So you got to get down in there and take a good look at what's happening inside. Have fun. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong. Absolutely. And then the last thing I'll say is, whatever you do with your resilience, whatever you do to bounce back, whatever you do to get back into the place you want to be, try to avoid forcing things. Mm. What I mean by that is doing all the right things, like getting a job, but don't get the job that's not going to satisfy you. That's forcing things. Get the thing that you make decisions about where you're going to go in your relationship, where you're going to go with your employment, where you're going to go with your health, but do it ethically. Have a moral standard, a moral compass that says, I won't accept less than what I deserve. That's what I mean about gathering all that data from the past, because we only have to look in your stories and memories. It takes me 5 minutes, by the way, when I talk to people. I had a wonderful chap talk to me yesterday, Patrick. It took me 5 minutes to figure out how amazing he was as a human. And it takes me 5 minutes with most people, because we're all delicious. We're all this wonderful, and I love this phrase, we are the spirit having a human experience, not the other way around. We're not humans having a spiritual existence. No, we are the spirit. And you should say to yourself, I am spirit. I can count on me, and watch how spirited I can be. Watch how much flair I've got. Watch how much creativity I've got. Watch how much fun I can inject into this. And then when I ask you, what do your kids think about you? What do your parents think about you? What do your friends think about you? Everyone says the same thing. They say, I'm funny. They say this. They say, I'm funny. You're not very funny at the moment. You look too serious because you're too wrapped up in what's going on inside. But I speak to people. Why did you marry this person? You say you've got some trouble in your relationship. Why did you marry him? Well, they used to make me laugh. Do they still make you laugh? Sometimes.
Mm.
Yeah. If we focus on what we don't have, the lack of, what's missing, you're going to go down there. And it's like, if your focus is critique and criticism everyone else instead of compliment, how many more compliments can you give today? That's resilience. That's what resilience is. It's a combination of all these things. I said so much, and I'm going to stop talking. So that's what it is to me.
No, I love your insight. And what I think an overall theme of what you just talked about that's so important in building relationships in the world that we're moving into is bringing your authenticity with you. But you can't be authentic if you don't know what your truth is. You can't be authentic if you're looking for outside validation to tell you who or what to be. And being an actress who was in theater and also kind of learning to survive by kind of being a chameleon, it's really been that journey of who am I? Who was I when I was being my best self? What did that look like? What was not me? What was authentic? What was not? And I think you talked about your come to Jesus moment with that. I think we all have that where we're like, wait a minute, this is not what I want to be about. This doesn't feel right. And I think there's a lot of people with the way the world is, we can see it as an opportunity. The world is shifting. It means get creative, look for possibilities, look for more options. Or some are choosing to be discouraged because they're like, I thought I knew my lane. and now I've got to pivot again and again and again and again. And you've done that several times, but you've done it brilliantly. So can you explain that you had that moment? You're like, okay, I'm going to step away from corporate, but you've evolved along the way. And I just think that helps someone else who's on that path and trying things out to stay encouraged along the way.
Yes. So let's quickly talk about that. I don't want anyone to think that I just quit my job and walked away. I did not. It was a long process. From the moment I decided I was leaving, which was Christmas Day of 2018, I didn't leave the job. I was paid up until Halloween the following year. So it's end to end. It was a 10-month experience. And I planned things carefully, my finances. I planned, what will happen when I'm not working? Where am I going to spend my time? I kind of thought about those things. I spent time, in coaches' company, coaches helping me think about who I am, where do I do my best work. Before I talk about, how do you become that chameleon, and changing path, because I think I'm on my fourth or fifth iteration of what I was doing in 5 years. We're nearly 5 years. In a couple of months, I'll be 4 years out of my role. But I've done 5 different things really, and the business I run now is very different to how it was in the beginning. And everybody always told me that. All these influencers and gurus, they all said, whatever you think you're going to be doing in the next 5 years and you think you're brilliant at, you won't be. You'll be doing something else. And I that's exactly what's happening to me. And even now, as I do the work I'm doing, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be the same in 3 years' time. And so you do have to adopt that actor mentality of it's okay to act. It's okay to act as long as you're in the position of being myself. I'm building the connections, the community, the relationships around me that I know take me to another level. And if you're doing that, and if you're in the wrong place, by the way, if you are the most ambitious person in your circle, you are in the wrong place. If you are the most ambitious person, you need to go and find people more ambitious than you. And so that might be Tiffany. So if you're watching this and you're watching Tiffany's content, it's a good chance that you should be hanging out more. You've got to be with people more ambitious than you. Otherwise, you won't grow. You will be in decay as those people are dragging you down, whether you feel it or not. And it's just hard for people to grasp that your friends typically aren't as ambitious as you. You're the one picking up the pieces for them. And I'm way off track with the kind of answer here. But I wanted to make that clear. I didn't just walk away from my job, but when I did it decisively. And then I've been persistent ever since. I've persisted with what I wanted to do. And I'm 4 or 5 changes in. And I think I don't follow your passion. I'm a big opponent of that. Passion follows you. You have to do something that is preferred interest, that you love doing this thing. Time flies when you do this thing, and not get wrapped up with money. Tiffany and I have talked about this. If money is your number one objective, by the way, that is unconscious, asleep thinking. You're focused on money first. You need to be conscious. And when I tell people what's the best of you, not one of them tells me money, I'm rich. Nobody ever tells me that. You know why? Because it's unconscious thinking. safety and survival. And you can survive behind my guitar in the corner, and I'll bring you some food. You'll be miserable if you focus on those things of just how much food can you give me. It's not that's going to work. So thinking about for your future and what you're thinking about in terms of resilience, and then navigating what's ahead of you, just be focused on the fact that I got to be the best version of myself, build a community around me. And then all those things I said to you about resilience, have reasons, work for your family, work for your loved ones, be creative, be much more creative than you're being. If you create something of magnitude in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll be shocked at what you can accomplish, and your impact will be far more reaching than you ever understand. And I'm seeing that now because I used to think about money. And my first business was all about money, 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 money. I did $100,000 in 5 months. You know why? Because I was focused on money. Did I service all the customers in the way that they want to be served? No. Did they have as much fun as I was having? No. Did I have fun in the end? No, the business collapsed. Of course it did, because it was driven by unconscious biological scarcity thinking. And that was a problem. So as soon as I shift that and act in the service of others, and this is what I recommend for everyone. So kind of my final thing on this is, serve other people. If you feel helpless right now, just be helpful, be more helpful, serve more, give more. And when you get it, when you click and realize you should be coaching people for free, you should be consulting with organizations for free, that's going to open up conversations for you. A lot of people don't understand this. I have people say to me, you're not allowed to work for free. That's against the law. They've got to pay you. And I'm like, yeah, if you're going to get wrapped up in bureaucracy and the federal government and all of that stuff, sure. But your heart is already saying, I got so much more to give. I mean, you're watching this thinking, this guy's not even I'm not even touching the surface. You've all got so much more to give. Tiffany's got so much more to give, and we talk about it all the time. She has no idea of her power, and she never will, because when she gets to the next level, I'll be telling her, hey, well, let's get that 5th book out. Let's get that TV show released. And she's looking at me, what do you mean TV show? And I say, how do you think Oprah did this? Just rock up. And it happened. She worked her guts out and became a chameleon, and she became the actress and the actor. You've seen what she's done. Phenomenal. Model the success. You just model it. You don't have to worry about recreating anything new. Oprah didn't create new. She just became the best.
Yes. I think there's that saying, be so good they can't ignore you, is one thing that I've heard. But I also love that you're talking from the heart. I mean, I feel your passion in what you're saying. And that's what this is really all about, is getting into our hearts, like getting out of our heads and getting into our hearts with everything that we do, and realizing we can live that way. We can live from our hearts in the service that we do. We can give without expectation. We're just planting seeds of goodness everywhere that we go. And that can't go wrong, because that'll flourish when that person decides to let it flourish. And maybe they need a kick in the pants, and they need a coach to kind of, nurture that a little bit more. And thank you for doing that with me, because I don't know how powerful they are. I have a quick little story about this. You don't know how powerful you are. In high school, I had this teacher. We were doing an English book. The book she wanted us to read was a little too shocking for some of us Christian children. So we asked for a different book. And the book she gave us was Crime and Punishment. And pretty much the book justified these people in different situations in the 1800s. And because of the 1800s and because of the way that it was, they just had no other choice to become murderers and prostitutes and not very nice things. But it's like, it was their circumstances. So when I wrote my paper, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this from an eternal perspective of who I am as an eternal person. And we're all eternal people. And so I wrote Crime and Punishment, Choice and Accountability, and took every single character and talked about if they'd remained true to themselves and their faith, how in eternity they would have been better off. And my teacher seemed to like the paper, give me a little more time for it. And I'm like, okay, turned it in, done. Didn't think anything about it. I was just being myself, was just writing, turning in a paper in high school. Get to graduation. I'm going through the line, and she's our keynote speaker, our AP English teacher. And I go to shake her hand, and she gives me the most sincere thank you I have ever gotten from anyone. And I'm like, no, thank you. I was so confused. I'm like, what is she thanking me for? Well, I came to find out later from other people at a graduation party, she stopped smoking after reading my paper.
There you go.
You don't know how powerful you are. And you need someone in your corner. You need a coach. You need James. You need someone to just let you see your potential and where you can go. And moments like that will happen where you did something for somebody else you had no idea you had the potential to do. And that's the real heart of it all. And so thank you, James, for being here. I love having these conversations with you, and I'm so grateful that we were able to connect and meet each other during even the craziest of times. And I appreciate that, you give value. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me meeting you is just always give value. Just always give and then sit back and be true to yourself and watch what happens, and you can't go wrong. And that's my kind of resilience. So with that, any last thoughts that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, this is quick fire, right? So nothing that's coming to mind. I only to say that, I think just on the coaching piece, a lot of people won't get a coach because they don't know who to trust. And it's like, well, think about your coach and selecting your coach the same way as you do for a car, right? You don't just go and buy a car. Some people do. There's a white car. I want that white car. I do think you've got to get the coaches that work for you. But I think not having coaches puts you in the less than Olympian category. So if you're watching this and you're somebody who wants to be at the top, you want to be a top 1%, top 5% performer, just think that there's every Olympian out there that has got a team of 5 to 10 people. And you don't need 5 to 10. You definitely need one, but I recommend you have 3. And these are the 3 that I always think about. A physical coach. It could be somebody in the gym that you go and do gym sessions with. It could be somebody who's not actually a gym coach, but they've got great results by being coached by a coach. And so they can pass on the information. They can help you with your workouts, with your exercise, with your nutrition, with your strategy, because the one you're using, if you're not happy with your physical appearance, isn't working. So do get a coach for your physical self. The other 2, I just think that everybody needs a mental health coach of some description. Now, that might reside in a community, that might reside in your church, and there might be somebody there who can be a kind of therapist for you. So take a look at who is my mental health coach? Who am I talking to about what my thoughts are saying? And if you're not doing that, then be wary that you may not progress at the speed you want to, because ultimately those unconscious negative thoughts, that's all natural. It happens naturally. We wake up and we're having unconscious thoughts. Oh, I've got another day to do. Oh, the kids have got to do this. Oh, I've got to do this. All these things are going on for us. And that's important to have that mental health coach, or at least counsel, somebody who can help you there. And then the last one, of course, is no matter what you do in life around your quest for income, there should be a career coach. There should be a business coach. There should be a marketing coach. There should be a sales, somebody who's a skills coach, who's coaching you skills to be better, so that you are more valuable. Because if there's one thing I'll tell you about AI is not going to replace every job on the planet. It's going to replace skills, things that you may be doing right now that AI can do. So that's why you need new skills to be more valuable. Because ultimately, our human experience, the spirit that's in this human experience will be, way beyond the capabilities of AI. But don't sit and rest right now. You need a coach to figure out how you're going to navigate. What is my income strategy? What value will I bring that I will get paid for the activity that I do? And so that's the only other thing I would leave on this. Just because you brought up that coaching piece, I'm like,
yes,
yeah, people need to hear that. And so that's where I'm at. But yeah, this is fun.
With what you said, I think there's one important thing I want to say, because this is the Resilient Mother podcast. And this was my experience. So I've been mom, I've been student, I've been in and out of school. I've worked a few times, but it's been years since I worked for a big company like General Mills or Disney or any of that. And I'm looking at doing my own business as well. But the world's changed. And now you apply online and you have resumes and we have AI. We have all these things that are different to navigate. So what are a few tidbits you could give someone that's like, for example, single mom heading back into the workforce? Some people could see that as, oh, but she's got kids, she's got obligations, she's got all these things. I manage 4 people's schedules. I am very resourceful. I can turn those into value. And so someone heading into this new world, how do they communicate that value, and how do they navigate so much of it now being more texts and a resume and not this kind of connection face to face? How do you get them to get face to face with you?
Yeah, here's a key thing. On LinkedIn right now, I just released a 6-day series of videos. Each video is less than 1 minute. So you can watch 6 things you need to do that will get you into your next gig, next job, next thing, whatever that is for you. So watch those videos. But I think ultimately everything comes back down to this. If you are not being yourself and you are not building relationships, investing into relationship capital right now, more for you, it's okay to scroll job boards and apply for things online, but that should not be your number one priority. Your number one priority should be, what communities am I in? Who has my money? who has my income? Who has my next thing for me? It's your job to go and play investigator and detective and uncover that, which means conversation. It doesn't mean scrolling LinkedIn jobs or Indeed, if that's what you're looking for, because I think you're going to be sorely disappointed. It's 1,000 candidates per role on average right now, and the HR departments can't keep up. And that's creating this knock-on effect of they're not replying to you. So not only are you going to apply, you're never going to hear anything because they've got 1,000 jobs to go through, 850 of which, by the way, will be rejected by a computer. So that even backs up my case. Relationships, because in the end, there's two places you get your job from: recruiters who know you and professional colleagues who know you and will recommend you to a role. So you must have professional relationships, and you must start connecting with recruiters who know you, truly know you. And you got to be patient with that. You got to have fun with that. But yeah, online application right now, the number of people getting their jobs through online application is about 5%.
Woo. Yeah.
Compared to 40% if you know someone, 40% if you're building relationships with recruiters and networking individuals, HR professionals. That's a much better bet. So stick to those two, because that's an 80% chance of a role. Whereas if you're going online and applying for things blindly, thinking I'm perfect for this role, they'll choose me. You have like a 1 in, I don't know, it's like 1 in 2,000 chance of getting that role. So raise your game, raise your stakes, raise your opportunity here. And that's about relationship capital. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, James. I think we've touched on so many relevant subjects for today for single moms, working professionals, entrepreneurs, and we all have our path when it comes down to it. We all just have our own resilient story. We all have our God or come to Jesus moment. We all have the opportunity to create possibilities and get creative and get excited about what is possible today. And it does take a little more work. It takes strategy. It takes planning that you've all talked about. But then you get the result. And then you get to help others get that same result. And it gets to be this contagious, beautiful thing that makes the world a better place. And we all get to raise a vibration and be in our hearts. So thank you for that message today and being here. If you want to reach out to James, where can they find you, James?
Yeah, preferred messages, LinkedIn. It used to be Facebook when I ran my other business, but this business, LinkedIn, is where you'll find me. I'm hanging out in there a lot of my days, communicating and building relationships with people. And yeah, the more somebody gets to know me, the more somebody gets to like me, trust me, there's a really good chance that I'm going to be able to revolutionize, transform, and transition you to where you really want to be with very simple frameworks and structures. So I'd love to catch up with you there. Yeah.
Well, I 100% trust James. So if, I can trust him, believe me, you can trust him too. So thank you for being here. Thank you, audience. And we will see you next time. I also want to plug in a little note. I am doing way more episodes in December. We're kind of doing a special month. We have a lot more professionals, keynote speakers, and people in general in December. So be watching for information about that starting soon. And we'll be taking this podcast to a new level next year. So be watching for that. Cool. Thank you so much. All right. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thanks. Thanks, Tiffany.